Hello there. As part of the Criterion 60th anniversary program for this year, obviously we're having to do things slightly differently this year because currently we don't have any access to the building. But we're catching up with people who have been members of the Criterion, performers, audience members, catching up with them and seeing how they are. And we're going over to Canada to David Brown. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Jamie.
How you doing?
Good.
So you're in Canada now. You were a Criterion member for about 10 years, I think.
Yeah, 1964 to 1973. In fact, it's 47 years ago since I left the Criterion. So it's almost half a century.
And is that when you left England as well?
Yeah, 1973. The last production I participated in was Servant of Two Masters. And
my records show that you actually did some set construction on the Crucible and Guys and Dolls just after Servant of Two Masters, probably while packing your bags, I assume.
Yeah, I've looked at that and I realized, how on earth did I get time to do that? Because the Servant of Two Masters ended 6 weeks before I left for Canada. Yeah, and also at that time I was teaching Steve Higgins to drive, believe it or not.
Okay.
Because we were in the Servant of Two Masters, and we'd get together to rehearse our lines, and then we'd go out and he'd drive. I don't know how I got into that, but I did.
So the Criterion president, who's sadly no longer with us, Jeff Bennett, was artistic director in those days. So from what I've heard from speaking to other people, it's no surprise that you could well have been on your way to the airport, but he'd have made you come in to paint a bit on Guys and Dolls.
Yeah, he did, but I didn't get involved in that. I know Guys and Dolls was in rehearsal, and we had a farewell party when I left, and it was in the bar, and it was a lot of people there. I remember the girls had been rehearsing in the theatre, and they came in, and then Jeff gave his farewell speech to me. The scariest moment for me was that Jeff kind of gave some of the history about Canada and then focused on Montreal because that was where I was going at the time. And all I can remember about his speech was, he said, and one of the facts about Montreal is that it's 80% French speaking. I didn't know that.
Okay.
How am I going to survive?
Well, you got a whole plane journey to learn a language. That seems like plenty.
Yeah.
How did you first wash up at the Criterion?
As a friend in an area in the neighborhood where I lived in England, we played together during school holidays, and he was going to Caledon Castle, and Jeff was looking for new members for the youth theatre. And so this friend of mine says that he was interested in joining, and would I go along? And I said, I'm not joining any theatre group, I'm not interested. He said, well, just come along with me, as company. So I went along, and we go into the Criterion in the reception area there, and my friend said hello, and Jeff says, hello, kid. And then he turned to me and he said, who are you? I said, I'm Dave Brown. I'm not interested. I've just come with my friend. We'll see about that. And that was it. My friend drifted away over the next couple of years, and for some reason, I hung around. And I've actually had a little bit of thinking in the last couple of days about why did I hang around. I joined. Most of the members of the youth theatre at that time either went to Babellick or King Henry VIII or a comprehensive school. I'd failed my 11 plus. I was in secondary modern school, and getting every ounce of confidence I ever had in me beaten out of me by the teachers at that time, which were mostly former military, Army, Navy, or whatever, and their whole objective seemed to be, let's just knock them down to the ground and then build them up. Well, they knocked me down to the ground, but they never built me up. And that's where the Criterion sort of was a parachute for me. It really did save me, because I was not having a good time at school, and the members at the theatre were so welcoming and friendly, and they have this common interest in theatre that they just enrolled me into it. And I remember when I first joined, there was one of the working weekends, and you just get together and sort the flats out, lay paving stones out to the outside toilets. And the first one that I went to, the ladies laid out all these tables in the bar with white tablecloths, and we had a fish and chip lunch and salt, vinegar. I think we ate out of the paper, but it was just, I don't know, just really kind of, I warmed to it and hung around.
Yeah, I mean, there is a definite like community spirit. It's very rarely about the theatre itself. There's a whole other company spirit that's underneath.
Right.
Fish and chip lunches sound good. I think we should bring them.
Yeah, they were very good. Yeah.
Especially,
and then I got involved in the youth production of Our Town, and I was given 3 lines, playing the part of Cy Crowell. And I opened the second act. I was a delivery boy, and I had 3 lines. And we went into the youth festival at the time at Coventry Technical College. I was nervous like you wouldn't believe. And my time came to go out, start the second act. Good morning, Howie. Good morning, Cy. Couldn't remember the next line. It was only the second line. I literally threw the paper across the stage and ran off and cried in the dressing room because I let everybody down. It's just, yeah, that was my first real stage experience, actually.
but you came back again. I mean, looking, some of your credits are really interesting because some of the character names that you played. So you were a soda clerk, and I remember Mama.
Yeah, I don't remember too much about that.
It says you were a stagehand in Cinderella Through a Distorted Mirror, but I'm not sure whether you were actually a stagehand or whether you were playing a stagehand.
I think I was playing a stagehand. I was wheeled in on a wheelbarrow. I guess I was some kind of guest at during one of the scenes, and I was covered in crepe paper, so nobody knew that I was actually in the wheelbarrow. And at some point, the cue came up for me to burst out, and I burst out, and there I was. That's all I can remember about Cinderella Through a Distorted Mirror. Yeah.
And yeah. I should say, I always put this in. If anybody at home wants to play along, you can go onto the criteriontheatre.co.uk, go to the archive, find the person. This is David Brown, and you can look at this history. And of all of the parts in there, you'll be able to go to the play and see pictures and things. So we've just before we started the recording, we've been looking at some of Dave's pictures throughout the years. We were looking at Dark of the Moon. I think that was from 1967.
Right.
And then your roles got bigger. You were Guildenstern in Hamlet.
Yes.
And my favorite credit, Murderers in Richard III.
Yeah.
How many murderers were you?
There was 2 of us.
Right.
And I can't remember who the person was now. I can't remember it. But yeah, I was also the peddler in the Bodmin Rock.
I can tell you that because I've got the archive up. So Ian Hopwood and Dave Brown, Murderers.
Ian, how could I forget? Oh yeah. Yeah. That very memorable moments. In fact, yeah, we were rehearsing. Ian and I were rehearsing, and Jeff was directing that, right? Jeff Bennett.
Possibly. It was actually John Hathaway directing that.
John Hathaway, okay. So we were rehearsing our little bit, and we had a dialogue going on, and John Hathaway and somebody was talking at the back, and you know, we were acting like crazy in rehearsal, and we stopped, and how was that, John? Very, very good, boys, very good, dead on. And Ian said, you were listening, were you? No, I was rather busy. Bread and butter, that was just a bread and butter, John Hathaway, it's a bread and butter bit, you know, very important, but, you know, not too much going on there. But about that time, I went, and this is a very significant moment in my life. It actually changed me. And we were rehearsing for a play called The Bodnam Romp. Everybody's heard of The Bodnam Romp. It was a fantastic one-act play that we entered into the youth festival. And we were rehearsing in a school gym close to the Criterion Theatre. And I guess John Walter was trying to cast us and saw who was going to play what. I'd had very few speaking roles. I'd been in the crowd a number of times. And so we were doing something that he gave us an exercise to do. And then we stopped. And he must have had his eye on me because there was a song in the play. And it was at the point of the play where the crowd was supposed to sing this song. And I'm standing there with everybody, and John Walter says, Dave, I want you to sing it by yourself. And at that moment in time, I was always at the back of the crowd. I couldn't be seen. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want anything to do with it. There's 20 kids and John in the gym. And I'm thinking, my thoughts were, why is he asking me? And then the next thought was, well, either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. I'll fail or I'll succeed. So I said, I'll do it. So I stood up and I wrote the words down. This is what I sang. Now the duck is in the pot, screaming as the pot is hot, lifts its head and calls for a savior, add an onion for the flavor. He gave me the lead after that. And that actually transformed me, believe it or not. It's so insignificant moment, but to me, it was like suddenly I got the confidence that I wasn't getting at school, and I got the support that I'd never had before. And you know, he supported me, and he was very significant influence on me. And then when he drifted away, and then we got involved in the senior players, of course, Jeff Bennett was an incredible teacher and supporter.
Yeah. I mean, we'll come on to Jeff. Do you remember? That was at a youth drama festival?
Yes.
Right? Do you remember who won? Do you remember where you came?
Yeah. We didn't win that year. I think we came third.
You did. And
yeah, I was very disappointed because it had been my first show as a lead. And I was a little bit upset because the best actor that year was Keith Railton.
Oh.
And it's a one-act play. He came into the village and then he went down into the well where he literally read most of his lines.
Because he didn't. Well.
Yeah. And so when the announcement was made and the best actor is Keith Railton, what?
I don't have those. I just have you down as third. I think beaten by Woberley Youth Centre.
And
just in front of, just behind the Stoke St Michael's Youth Players B team. The B team, Dave.
Yeah,
just
that's
behind
right.
doing Sweeney Todd, the Holyhead Players B team. Amazing, actually, thinking back, because like that doesn't happen anymore. There's none of that
No.
kind of competition anymore in Coventry. I mean, the Criterion is basically behind, with the Belgrade, is almost the only theatre that's happening apart from the Albany Theatre, which is still going.
Right. That is amazing.
Competitions. Was that a big deal?
Yeah, it was a huge deal. It was a week of 5 nights of plays, and then 3 were selected to be presented on the Saturday night, and that's when all the awards were given. And then, I mean, the youth players won a couple of times. I remember going to Stoke-on-Trent for one of them. I can't remember which play it was that took us there. But also, we got to know all the other groups in town, and it was like you've just listed, there's 3, 4, 5 of them. And yeah, we got a lot of friends through that. It really was a very special time.
Tell me about The Unknown Soldier and His Wife, because
I remember.
But I love your character name, which you can remember, I think.
35914.
Yeah.
And you show me pictures. I cannot remember anything about that play.
It's one of my favorite things, is interviewing people and saying, I'm literally looking at a picture of you in this play, and the person saying, no, I don't remember that. I wasn't in that. I don't think that's true. And it's like, well, it definitely did happen. You have so many good memories, but some of them you've just completely forgotten.
Yeah, I can't remember anything about it. I'm sure we did character development, and 35914 did a really good show.
He was probably terrific. He did some lighting as well, I think. Yeah,
lighting, which of course was all mechanical in those days, up in the lighting box with the big arms and the pulleys.
Yeah.
And,
I spoke to David Cornish earlier on in a separate interview, where he was saying that the soundboard in those days was literally like, to make the sound you were cutting up tape, and
that's right, yeah, editing
reel
tape.
to reel, and that seems incredible now that everything's done with computers. And I was telling somebody about the lighting board the other day, and they were saying, I don't understand, it's all on a computer and you just press a button, right? And it's like, no, in those days the lighting board was, hundreds of handles and wheels on the end that you had to pull and lock things to bars, and I did one show on that.
You're adjusting the handles for the lights, and you have the play button on the tape recorder, so you turn that light down and push that cue.
It's amazing. I remember like having bulldog clips on bars where, so it stopped going over a certain thing.
Yeah.
So many things you forget. And I think I only had one go on that board, and pretty soon afterwards it was replaced with something a lot more modern with faders and sliders and stuff. But it was great fun. Just looking what else you've got. So Jane Eyre was a bit further on. Have you got anything before that?
Before Jane Eyre, The Son of Man has to be one of my favorite plays to be in. Probably because Bob Morley was absolutely outstanding as Jesus Christ. And who directed that? Can you remember?
I can remember. John Burroughs.
John Burroughs, of course. Yeah.
I don't really remember it. I can click something and find out instantly. So technology is wonderful.
George Hugo was in that as well. I always remember George. He really good fun, excellent production, and a very cherished memory. I can't remember specifically any incidences that I could share with you, but great.
Well, I'm actually looking. He was actually the stage director for that. So he would have been in the corner. I imagine. Actually,
Well,
there's a stage director and a stage manager. I'm not sure what the difference between those two roles
no, I
would.
don't remember that at all. Yeah. Yeah, and
Keith Wayne
another,
in that though. Jeff
yeah,
Bennett, Pontius Pilate.
Jeff Bennett, Pontius Pilate. Yeah. Oh, another one is Everything in the Garden. I played Roger the son there, and it's one of the funniest lines. Graham Fair had one of the funniest lines in that play that, and I think about it occasionally, because one of the guests in the house for that dinner is murdered, and they take the body out of the house and put it in the garden, and the conversation is, well, now what are we going to do with the body? And then somebody says, well, we're going to have to dig a hole and bury it. And then there's a pause, and then Graham Fair says, we could always grass it. He was funny, how dry he was and just like calm, thoughtful, and then that line came out, we could always grass it. Cracked me up every night.
Yeah, he's invariably mentioned. I didn't really know Graham before my time. I was just a child.
Yeah.
But everyone who was there mentions and says how wonderful he was. So, I mean, obviously, you left a long time ago. I mean, have you been back? Have you been back across?
Oh yes, particularly whenever I've gone to England, I've always tried to time it to coincide with the production at the Criterion. So yeah, I mean, there's a number of active members that we talked about them already. I've got 7 or 8, 9, maybe 10 people that were members at that time that are still involved today.
Yeah.
And during those 60s, it's kind of interesting how the youth group, as I will call it, became the future. We didn't know that then, and a lot of people went in different directions. I certainly didn't expect to go off and live in Canada for what has been 2/3 of my life. But we're still friends. You, your mum, your dad, Keith, Helen, Moira. Yeah, a core group of people who've stayed together and stayed in contact throughout the years, and I think I would never have come to Canada. I would never have done any of the things that I did without the Criterion giving me so many opportunities to try things out. I mean, I ran the bar for 1 year. This was like when I was 18 or 19 years old. And
an 18-year-old run the bar?
Yeah, I ran the bar. I think I was 19 at the time. Actually, I was 19, I can remember. I was going to Lanchester Polytechnic doing mechanical engineering. I was working on my apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce. And I remember at lunchtime, I would go down to the phone box and phone the brewery in Birmingham to order a few barrels. And then I'd have to go there that night and wheel the barrows into the side there and replenish all the stock ready for the following night. I don't know how I managed that, but the opportunities were there. You took them, and you always felt supported. And yeah, in the middle of all of it, Jeff was, you could do this, kid. You could do this, kid. I think you're the right person for this, kid. I really do, and he would, I'm glad he pushed me. I really am glad, because
it sounds like a big difference to you.
Huge. Well, that's where I am now. And of course, I've done a little bit of theatre since I came here.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Starting a Vancouver branch of the Criterion Theatre.
Yeah, it's a North Vancouver Community Players. Been a member there now for probably 30 years. not been in an awful lot of productions. And then there was a little split off group and called the Comedy Company, about 6 of us. And the chap that was leading it applied to do murder mysteries on the train from North Vancouver up to Porto Cove and back. It was called the Dinner Train. And he submitted a contract and got the job. And for 2 or 3 years, up to about 5 years ago, once a week, we do a murder mystery on the train going up to Porto Cove. And amazing, where we'd act out these scenes, and then they would have tables, and then as a character, you would go and sit in your character with 3 other members of the passengers and act out through the play, and they had to guess who the murderer was and all that silly stuff.
So considering your landing at the Criterion as just being there as somebody's friend and absolutely no interest in joining whatsoever, you ended up carrying on doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. The amazing thing is that not only did we do the dinner train, but we also did Christmas parties, and we got paid. We got paid for doing the dinner train. We got paid for doing the Christmas parties. And I could never quite accept the fact that when I was given the envelope, I'm getting paid to do this. I'm getting paid to have fun. This is not right.
You're a professional now. That's what it made you.
And then the girls and my daughters went to high school 10 minutes away from where we live, and I was in 3 or 4 productions at the high school they were attending. The last one was Guys and Dolls, where I played Arvide. 57 members in the cast. I was, I think, 57 at the time, and there wasn't another cast member older than 19.
So you didn't stick out in that at all. It's someone's
you know what? They actually made me feel quite at home. It never even bothered me. I had so much fun.
Well, it's been lovely talking to you. I think I need to let you go and do Canadian things. But it's so nice to speak to you. So it's a very happy 60th anniversary, particularly for me, because I get to catch up with all of these people.
Yeah.
And I say it's clear that the Criterion had a big effect on you, and that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, it certainly did. It made me who I am today, whatever that is. Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate the opportunity. And as soon as COVID's over, I'm going to come over and watch a production and visit my family over there.
Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks very much.